Hello everybody, my name is Ducky and welcome for the very first time to my YouTube channel. Today on a whim, I totally just decided, you know what, I have almost 4,000 hours in The Sims 4, why don't I make something of it? So I recorded myself building this cute little house and now I'm going to talk about it. So, a little backstory for this sim. His name is Johnny Humphreys. He is a townie in my current legacy game, which I've been playing for about 3 years. I'm on Generation 13, and my heir is just about to age up into a young adult. And this is one of her best friends, and his name is Johnny. So, since he just aged up into a young adult, I decided, you know what, I'm going to move him out, I'm going to give him his own place, and just have a little bit of fun building a cute little house. Now, this is little, but it is not a starter home. I'm going to put it up on the gallery, and I think it came out to around 40K at the end, which is amazing considering how itty-bitty this place is, but I really tried to fill every little corner with as much character as I could. So there's a lot of trinkets, there's a lot of clutter, which really add up over time, absolutely. So I started with the outside. It's just this cute little tiny ranch. I moved Johnny out to Chestnut Ridge because he aged up with the Winemaker aspiration. I'm not sure if that's what it's actually called in the game because I have basemental, so it turns all of the juice, quote unquote, into actual like regular liquor. So it might not be called wine in the base game, but maybe it is. I don't remember. But I moved him out to Chestnut Ridge so that he could live his winemaking dreams. Part of what gave this build so much trouble, part of what gave me so much trouble in this build is the fact that if you have played Horse Ranch, you know that the wine will age faster if you put it in a cellar. And here you can see me really struggling to try and cover up this ugly edge right here, because if you try and put a basement on the very edge of a build that has a foundation, it makes the ground like raise up. It looks really, really weird. So you can see I'm using the tool mod here to try my best to cover it up with some plants because it's so unbearably ugly. But since this house ended up being so small, there weren't really any other places that I could put the ladder and have it make sense. Next, you're going to see me trying so hard to use these new stones from the Riviera Retreat Kit. I think they're so cute. I love the idea, but, and there's a big but, there's only 2 swatches. There's a bunch of different colors, but there's only 2 patterns for the stone, so you just can't mix and match it as much as you would hope. You just can't do a whole lot with it. So unfortunately I did end up just deleting it and putting some terrain paint down instead, and you know what, I think that looked way better, so you know what, I'm just glad I wasted my time trying to make it work. I really want to make it work because it's new and it's exciting, but it was not happening. Here I just started off on this cellar. I'm going to come back to it later at the very end of the build, but I just plopped a bunch of wine stuff in there and then I'm going to come back to it later. So now we are coming into the kitchen, which is by far the most fun part of this build. I love building kitchens. I'm using the counter set from the Country Kitchen Kit. I know that it is super duper similar to what came in Cottage Living, which came out like really soon after that. So some people were like upset after they bought the kit and they were like, well, I just basically bought the same thing twice in a row, but I love this style. I think it is so homey, it's just so comforting, so I was not upset about buying it twice, I guess. Here I did something really fun where I put a half wall above the stove, and I thought this was super cute. I put a bunch of books up there. I'm kind of acting like there may be cookbooks for the kitchen, or just, I don't know, a place for him to put his books in general. But those are up there, and I've never done anything like that, decorating a half wall like that, but I thought it came out really, really cute. Here we are moving on to the living room. This is a super small house, and I realized here that it was too small to fit a living room comfortably with how big I made the kitchen, and I was not redoing it because I thought it came out so cute. So I put a little bump out here to make some more space for the living room. It's just one couch and the TV, and that's it. There's no love seat, there's no chair, there's just no space for that. And I think that's okay, because the sim who lives here, you know, he's a single guy. He isn't like a people person. I can't imagine him having people over for like parties and stuff. so I think that he will be just fine with just the single couch. I'm now coming back to the kitchen to put some more shelves in. I love this triple shelf from Jungle Adventure. I think it is super duper underrated as an item. And I use the Jungle Adventure floors in here too, which are by far my favorite floors. I use them in probably all of my builds at this point. But I'm trying so hard to find a bunch of cute little clutter to put on this shelf here because I usually use CC. I love CC, especially when it comes to clutter, because I think we're really lacking in certain areas when it comes to clutter in this game. So it was a bit of a challenge. I wanted to challenge myself to try and decorate this whole house with no CC at all, and that was definitely the hardest when it came to the kitchen shelves. Now we are moving into the bedroom. I put a little desk in this itty bitty nook on the side here, and I did play test it. It does work. I just cut out the footage of me dragging Johnny in here. Here in this bedroom, since it is so tiny, really the only option that I had for the nightstands was the ones from Dream Home Decorator. I love Dream Home Decorator as a concept. I love this style of the furniture, but there's just something off about the lighting. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but especially with like the coffee table, I find that coffee table completely unusable because the lighting on it is so jarring, it's so garish. It doesn't fit in with anything else in this game. It's so strange. But I really didn't have any other option besides using those because they're the only ones that will fit in such a tiny spot. Here I'm using this gorgeous vinyl player, like this record player from the new party kit. And I love it. I've just been using it in every single build. I love collecting vinyls and playing records, so I love having my Sims do the same thing. Here, I decided to go back to the fireplace and add this little stone detailing around it. I see that a lot up here where I'm from in the Northeast. I don't know if it's super common everywhere else, but we always have like stone or something around our fireplaces, so I absolutely have to add that in all my Sims builds. I think it adds like a little layer of realism, and I just think it's super duper cute too, and it breaks up the space, so I always have to. Here I'm coming to the back of the build, and I decided to add a bit of a back porch here to give some space for Johnny's like wine making stuff, like the thing where he stomps the fruit and whatnot. I figured I'd put that under cover in case it rains. I can't remember if it rains a whole lot in Chestnut Ridge, but you know, better safe than sorry. It's nice to have a covered porch to put some pots to grow the fruit and stuff anyways, because if you have seasons, listen, I love seasons and I love the idea of having seasonal fruits and veggies and stuff like that, but realistically I end up just putting all of my plants under cover every time because I just get so annoyed when they go out of season and they disappear. It's just super annoying. I know it's realistic, but it just drives me up the wall. So I always like to put some stuff that's covered. But I did put some planter boxes that are out in the open here, and I put a sprinkler in between because that actually will water them. Fun fact, I think that's something that's super cute, and I don't see many people using that. I think that's kind of a forgotten about feature from Seasons. And lastly, out front here, I wanted to use this selling table from the Gemology kit. I can't remember it for the life of me right now. But I used this cute selling table and I put a little worn rug underneath, and I figured that Johnny could come out front and sell his wine right in front of his own house. And I thought that would just be just a super cute little touch. I put the umbrella over it because I imagine it gets super duper hot in Chestnut Ridge. And yeah, now we're moving on to the very, very final touches. I'm coming back to the cellar like I promised, and I'm adding some details from the Basement Treasures kit, which I absolutely love. I love all of the clutter. Like I was saying before, I love clutter in this kit. It's small, but the stuff that it has is really, really nice quality. I love the worn down type of stuff that they have in this kit, so I absolutely had to add some basement treasures to the basement. Here, I'm just finishing up by getting some curtains and coming around and just getting a little bit more clutter. Like I said, I love clutter, so I was searching through the Everyday Clutter kit constantly throughout this whole build, just to get the little finishing touches. Oh, and the last thing that I added was this poster from the new bistro kit, because it's like wine related, so I thought that'd be perfect for a little wine ranch. So now we're moving on to the screenshots. This is the final build. It is super duper tiny, not a starter home, like I said, but I think it's really lived in. I think it looks really cute and homey, and I'm really proud of how it came out. Maybe it's because I knew that I was going to be on camera, so I really put my all into this one. And I think I really did a lot considering I wasn't using any CC. So I'm super proud of it. So thank you all for watching my very first Sims 4 video, and maybe you can consider subscribing and I might make some more. Bye everybody.
In the beginning, there were thieves. The thieves opened chests, and it was good. 34 years later, everybody opens chests, thieves throw daggers, and to be honest, they're still pretty cool. But how did we get from wimpy thieves with the exclusive ability to open chests to the combat class we have in Fire Emblem Engage? Well, there's been a lot of iteration on this class. Outside of Lords, thieves are the class that have undergone some of the most change since Fire Emblem 1. So let's take a look at the different approaches Fire Emblem has taken to thieves and what effect they had on the games they were in. And then I'll talk about what I think about them overall. We won't be looking in detail at every game in the series in this video, just the thieves that I think are the most noteworthy or represent major shifts in how the class worked. But before we get into it, a big thank you to my geckos on Patreon and a shout out to my skinks, Morg Wolf, Wingman, Upscale Furry Trash, Lonely Voxel, Cosplay Sylveon, Ikey Poo, Lucy Sev, Emma, Stars to Art, The Noodle Doodler, Muted Miami, Aaron Geddon, Doobie, and Red Mage Morgan. If you want to support the channel, get shoutouts in videos like this, and get early access to videos, you'll find a link to the Patreon in the video description. As usual, we will be starting at the beginning, in Fire Emblem 1. Most of what I say here will also apply to FE3 Book 1, but there are some differences. We pick up our first thief in FE1 in Chapter 3, a fella named Julian who's fleeing bandits with a cleric named Lena. The game does a good job of impressing on you that Julian is not a fighter. He's not going to fight the bandits to protect Lena, he's going to run away from them. A stark contrast to the introduction of Navarre in the same chapter, who's here to chop up dudes real good. The funny thing about Julian, though, is that while you would expect him to not be much of a fighter, he actually has a strength growth of 70% in FE1. That's tied for the highest strength growth in the game, though his low base of 4 strength and lack of promotion mean he won't cap it most of the time, and his less exciting defense stat means even if you train him, it's tricky to put him on the front lines. Plus, his weapon level growth is a stone cold 0, so however swole Julian gets, he's going to be at a deficit compared to units that can use better weapons. Still, if for some reason you want to use a combat thief, my man does have some anchor arms by the end of the game. Combine a little luck or a strength booster and a devil sword, and it is possible for Julian to kill Medius. Despite Julian's surprisingly high strength growth, doing combat isn't really the role of a thief in FE1. Rather, their strength is in their ability to use thief keys to open doors and chests. This goes double for Rickard, our next thief, who joins later and has worse combat prospects than Julian. It's worth noting, though, that thieves are not strictly necessary for much in FE1. Door keys are purchasable as early as Chapter 5, and our Lord Marth can open chests himself. With that in mind, it may not sound like there's much for thieves to do in FE1 at face value. However, I think thieves serve 2 important roles. One is on a blind playthrough, nobody knows how many door keys they need to buy, and it's possible you managed your money poorly and you can't afford to buy enough door keys. Being able to deploy a thief to crack a door open is a great fallback option. Second, while Marth can open chests, Marth is a very busy guy in FE1. He's out here visiting villages, seizing thrones, recruiting dudes, and being a combat unit. So if I can deploy a thief to take a job off of Marth's plate, that's usually a good idea. For these reasons, I think players will find themselves getting used out of thieves decently often in FE1. Which brings us to the interesting part about thieves. How does bringing them to a map impact how you play it? It does a few things. First, when you decide you're going to go after a chest with a thief, it encourages you to play a bit faster and maybe split your army between going to the throne and going to the chest. Enemy thieves are going to rush at chests and open them up if you don't get to them quickly, and in FE1 they don't drop the items they stole when they die. So you don't just need to get to chests with your thief, you need to get there faster than the enemy. Second, while your thief is on the way to the chest, they're going to need protecting, so deploying a thief to go get a chest adds sort of a escort quest side objective. In my last video, I talked a bit about how a weaker lord can become an escort quest on these maps. Thieves provide a lower stakes version of the same thing, and one that can be used on any map with any objective type. I say lower stakes for two reasons. First, losing a thief doesn't force a reset, and second, a thief's goal is generally just to get you an item rather than seize a throne, so it's not mission critical like an escort quest Lord is. The dynamic that thieves have changed a little bit in FE3, where enemies do drop items that they stole from chests when they die, which in some cases means you can get away with not bringing a thief and not bringing a key. In the desert chapter, for example, if you want the skill book in the bottom right chest, instead of sending a thief over, you can send a flyer to kill an enemy thief after he opens